Hello, this is Secular Homeschool Dad. I am Ginger Jesus. In my first video, I mentioned how I like to use the phrase "I don't know." Basically, I like to feign ignorance with my children so that they are forced to find information themselves. Do it a lot with math questions or things that can be easily looked up or Googled. I try to keep it to things that I generally can pretend I do not know how to do. Fractions, stuff like that, stuff you learn in school but you soon forget. Little things like that. Generally speaking, I don't use it for the most basic of things that I like to use in examples, like what is 2 plus 2. It's an example to explain the concept. It is not something I actually do. But I was going to discuss the concept of feigning ignorance as opposed to other schools of thought that people reminded me of, such as leading questions and other things like that. I read a lot of articles. I learned a lot of things I thought were interesting. I was going to bring those up, and I was going to discuss those things today. We're going to discuss those things tomorrow, because today, Kavenaugh happened. You know, Supreme Court. Stuff is messed up. It just is. So this thing with the FBI, that's basically a glorified background check, as near as I can tell from what I read. They're gonna do some research, some information, give a report to the Senate, and then the Senate's gonna take it from there, right? That's what's going on. That's it. So the problem is the Senate already knows. They just don't care. I mean, the senators have already made up their minds about this guy, and I don't think another piece of paper from the FBI is really going to change their mind. I mean, one more piece of paper saying, not this guy? Of course not. They already know he's guilty. They just don't care. They don't care that he's guilty. So the FBI, it's 7 more days. It's 7 more days without Kavenaugh being officially voted on. Stall tactic, yay. But ultimately, they've already made up their minds. This decision was already made. They've decided they want him, and they could really care less. Quite frankly, that he's a sexual predator. You know, meanwhile, the grown women in my life, they're actively worried about losing their reproductive rights, about losing their health care, and about how the average man in this country sees them. I mean, nobody's standing up for their right to be heard and respected. We're watching a grown woman stand in front of everybody and expertly and bravely talk about her abuse, and her abuser is going to be on the Supreme Court. What are they expected to feel about the rest of us guys who are just going on with our day? They are worried about everything that they can lose because we have allowed our predators to govern. These people are our leaders. Are we okay with that? Are we? If we're okay with that, if that's where we are as a society, we are okay with that, then so be it, right? For what, 20 plus years now, the religious right has done its best to convince us that to disagree with them is to disagree with both God and America. That every time you do something the religious right doesn't like, you are either a traitor or a heathen. There's nowhere to go with that. So the center has been moving further and further towards the right, making left ideas I thought were universally thought to be common standards of good taste and morality. They're suddenly radical. To help people, healthcare, housing, food. Suddenly these things are crazy. What happened to us as a society? The New Deal pulled us out of the Great Depression, right? That's what we're all taught in high school, the New Deal. You look at the way the New Deal looks, it looks like socialism as modern socialists in America want it, as near as I can tell from the other ones I've spoken to. Just a bit of tax money to help some people out who need it every now and then, right? That's it. Healthcare so people who are sick and get some help. A little bit extra here and there for some other stuff. It's not even much money. Our military's got the... Never mind. You already know how much we spend on the military. We don't need to go into that. But helping people, right? And you'd think these differences aren't so different, right? I say I have no problem giving the state a little extra money for my taxes, and if you're a religious person, I assume you take some money with you to put in the collection plate because you know that the church gives that money back to the community in their own ways. They probably have charities that they support, and you know that your money's going to go to these charities, so you're helping in your own way, and you have no problem with that, and I have no problem with you doing that. I may have a problem with religion, but I don't have a problem with people helping. I never have and I never will. But it's still socialism. These differences aren't so different. Meanwhile, we live in a society of almost passive religiosity, right? Everyone's beliefs are respected, not because they are good, but because they are sincere. The owners of Chick-fil-A are openly against homosexuality. Yet no one cares, because apparently their fries are good, and they are allowed their religious opinion, no matter how evil. Hobby Lobby won that case, right? Unless I'm mistaken. I remember them winning it. I didn't double check. They get to tell people who have no choice in the matter that they can't. They get to tell their employees that if they want to continue working there, they have to give up their right to reproductive health. And we're okay with this. We're okay with limiting somebody else's rights to protect somebody else's sincere religious belief that they shouldn't have them. But it's religion, so it's okay. We are told that passive religion is benign, that it's okay and not to worry about it. It's okay. It's all right. Don't worry about it. It's just religion. It's God. Nothing wrong with God. Ideally, the right wing be policed by the people with sincerely held right-wing values, who are also capable of empathy. That the centrist majority of the right wing would be able to keep the radical fringes under control. Yeah, you see healthcare reform different than I do. But we both respect each other as people and as Americans. We can accept that about each other at the very least, right? But the right wing, they can't have this, not the extreme edges. I need to be the enemy. If I'm the enemy, then anything I say is dismissed out of hand. I am the deceiver. I'm the left. I am a non-believer. To the average citizens of the right wing, where are you? Maybe I'm trapped in my own algorithms and thought bubbles. Facebook being what it is, YouTube being what it is, our modern world giving us everything we want to hear. And maybe you folks are out there and I don't know it. And maybe you'll never hear this message for the same reason. And that's... who knows? I pray you see this message and somebody says, that's a fair point. So where are you? Because it's time to stand up. The extreme ends of your party have gone crazy, and you know it. You need to remind these people that the values that they are. You need to remind these people that these values are not indicative of the right wing as a whole. That is your job, because they're not going to listen to me. I mean, how did this happen? How did we get to such a place that we allowed such evil men to govern us? The religious right openly controls our government. The people who profess morality and goodness and righteousness. These men sat in the Senate today and decided, yeah, this guy, he's fit to be a judge. Religion always wants us to have the same takeaway, that they are here to help, that they are love and they are peace. Meanwhile, on almost every shelf in America is a book with a very different message. All religion says the same thing: be good to people, be good to yourself, someone loves you, but it is not benign. That book on almost every shelf in America says the same thing, that your daughters are property, that your wives are nothing more than domestic servants that you can breed. And we teach this book to our sons. We teach this book to our sons in church, and we teach these stories in Sunday school, and worse yet, we teach these stories to our daughters. And yes, I am secular, but I was raised religious. I was raised with this belief that because I was male, I was better than every female on this planet. This sincerely held religious belief made me a bully. When I became a non-believer, I had to look at how I treated women and how I treated others who were different. I stopped believing, and I no longer had an excuse for my bad behavior. I had to look at myself and a lot of the choices I made, and a lot of the mistakes I made. And I had to look at that. Now, did I ever do anything terrible, like truly, truly terrible? No, but I'm, almost 40 years old on this planet. I've hurt some people along the way. I've made some mistakes. I haven't been a perfect human being. But I've tried to learn from that, and I've tried to be better. I was taught a lot of things along the way that taught me how to treat people in a way that I'm not proud of. And I learned a lot of that in Sunday school. And now we have Kavenaugh. And now the religious right controls all three wings of our government. I hope you enjoyed your health care, America.